Hello everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We are live here at the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. Thank you so much for joining us on TikTok Live today. We are going to learn all about jellies, and I'm really excited for the stream because not only are you going to learn, I'm going to learn too. There's so much to learn about jellies, so we are going to spend this time together learning a lot. I can't wait. My name is Madeline. I'm on the social media team here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. And like I said, today's stream is all about jellies, and we'll talk about it. Warm up, let's go. We'll talk a little more about it in a few minutes, but you might notice I call them jellies. We call them jellies here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, or sea jellies, because they're technically not fish, so we don't call them jellyfish, but we might bounce around a little bit. It's definitely not something we're too hard about. Hello everybody. I would love to see some blue hearts in the chat if you have joined us on TikTok Live before on a past Tuesday. Last week we were in otters. This week we're hanging out with our jellies. And previously you've met our octopuses. You've met our sea lions. Oh, lots of blue hearts, love to see it. And yeah, definitely drop any of your questions into our Q&A section. We'll try and get through as many as we can. All right, everybody. Once again, we're here live at the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. And I am going to introduce you to Aquarist Josh. Hi, Josh.
Hi, everyone.
How's it going?
It's going great.
What are we going to learn about today?
So today, thanks for joining me. We're going to be learning about my sea jellies here at the Aquarium of the Pacific.
Yeah, Josh is just our jelly master over here at the Aquarium of the Pacific.
Yes.
So we are currently in our Northern Pacific Gallery, and this is kind of our little jelly headquarters, at least up here on the second level. So we are going to talk all about the jellies we have on display here, and then we are going to move to behind the scenes where we're going to learn even more about jellies. I can't wait, Josh. So what do we have here to begin with?
So to start with, we have our comb jellies. Now what's cool about comb jellies is they're not true jellies at all. Jellies are actually distinguished by having nematocysts, which are their stinging tentacles. Comb jellies actually don't have those. What comb jellies have are what's called colloblasts, which actually stick to prey. So these guys can't sting you. And a question I always get asked is, are they creating light with their bodies? And they're actually not. What they're actually doing is reflecting light with what are called comb rolls. And those comb rolls look like little kind of windows that close up and down, and that's what helps them propel through the water.
Yeah, as you can see, if you're watching, you can see that it looks like they're making their own little rainbows, but like Josh said, they're technically not creating them themselves, right?
Correct.
And we see, looks like a yummy snack right here. We have some small shrimp, right? What is that?
Yeah, that's called a mysid shrimp. Comb jellies, even though it might not look like it, are voracious predators. They'll
Very voracious.
They'll eat small fish, they'll eat fish eggs, they'll eat these little shrimp, which are called mysid shrimp, which I fed them. They'll eat small plankton, and some can actually eat other comb jellies. So these guys are really cool.
Very cool. Oh, and I want to thank, we have had one donor donate $20 to our nonprofit aquarium. That's amazing. Thank you so much. We are a nonprofit aquarium with a focus on conservation and education, and you can support us here on TikTok, so we appreciate it. All right, so comb jellies technically aren't jellies, right?
No, they're not. We call them that because of their appearance. Like I was saying, jellies are actually distinguished by having those stinging cells called nematocysts, which comb jellies don't. But actually, a fun fact about comb jellies, which distinguishes them from true jellies, is that true jellies, they don't have a butt, but comb jellies actually do.
Got it.
So that's
comb
a big
jellies
difference.
have a booty, jellies do not. I think TikTok will appreciate that fun fact. All right, well, speaking of real jellies, what do we have here?
So this beefy jelly is called an egg yolk jelly, and this is a true jelly. This is one that you'll find commonly off the west coast here, down in Southern California. These guys, as I was saying, that comb jellies are voracious predators, these guys are on the top of the food chain when it comes to jellies. Any of the other jellies that you'll see here, this guy will eat them in no problem.
And I want to show just how big he is. So here's my hand right up against the acrylic here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. So he's huge. Really, really cool jelly. And what are these stringy things coming off of him?
So those stringy things are the tentacles. Now the tentacles are loaded with what are called nematocysts, which are the stinging cells, and that's what helps it capture its prey.
Very cool. And what does this jelly eat besides other jellies?
That is the only thing that this jelly eats. he will actually hunt down other what are called smacks, which is a big bloom, find himself in the middle of a big group of jellies and just start chowing down on them.
Oh man, let's get some egg yolk or egg emojis in the chat for this very cool egg yolk jelly. And like I said, he is massive. There's my hand up against for a little size comparison. All right. And so what do we have next, in this exhibit?
Next are Japanese sea nettles. These guys are common off the coast of Hokkaido and a couple other places in Japan. They're related to a couple of the other nettle species that we have here at the aquarium. There's about 20 in here, and all these guys are captive bred, cultured in-house. In fact, all the jellies here have been bred in-house. Something cool to note with that is that there are boy and girl jellies.
Oh.
It's tough to tell by the naked eye, but if you look underneath what the bell, which is kind of like the head, there's the four structures. It's really easy to tell with some other species, but males and females will have different colored what are called gonads under there. But the best way to tell is take a little snippet and look under the microscope, and I could actually see sperm and eggs in the individual specimens.
Amazing.
So another kind of fun fact about these guys, and all true jellies that is, they do reproduce sexually, i.e. they do have a male and female, but another stage in their life cycle, they actually make clones of themselves. So they have both asexual and sexual reproduction in their life cycle.
Very cool. All right, I think we'll get it more into their anatomy in a little bit. But we've looked at a couple of jellies now. Are jellies sensitive and fragile?
Absolutely, actually. They are pretty much made out of 96% water. We call them sea jellies, but they're actually a gelatinous plankton. They're really soft-bodied. They're really sensitive to their environment. So if you look at these guys in particular, you can tell the water flow in the tank is moving in a circle. That is done on purpose so that the jellies will actually mimic drifting out in the ocean. Jellies don't like corners when they're in captivity. It's not like a fish where it can swim into a corner and then turn around. Jellies just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
So they are very sensitive to the factors in their tanks.
Very cool. Yeah, we have a video about the types of tanks that we use here at the aquarium. What's the name of the type again that we use?
So the type of tanks that we put jellies in are called Kreisels, and that's German for spinning top. And then it's supposed to replicate the idea of playing the game where you spin the top.
Very cool. All right, if you're just joining us, we are here live at the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. My name is Madeline. I'm on the social media team here at the aquarium. And I also have Aquarist Josh. Hi, Josh. And we are talking about jellies today. And stay tuned. We're going to head behind the scenes in a few more minutes, but we have a few more jellies to introduce you to. And I think this is a good time to talk about a question we were getting on our post promoting this live stream is, do jellies get tangled together? And if so, how do we fix that?
Yeah, especially these long tentacle jellies. It can totally happen where they get tangled on exhibit. The most common reason is they both grabbed a food piece and they just kind of go with the flow until it eventually tangles them up. When I see this, I just kind of go for it, and I'll have to untangle them with my hands. The best thing I can do is throw on some latex gloves to kind of help with stings. But yeah, and I just carefully, real slow, untangle them.
Very cool. Everyone thinks that you're the best for doing that. That's awesome. Very cool. All right, so we'll move on to our next exhibit. That was our Japanese sea nettles. And we also have our umbrella jellies. New name. And these are smaller guys. Pretty cool. But I'm really excited to talk to you all about our Pacific sea nettles. And I'm going to back up for a second just so you can get a view of this exhibit. Let's get some blue hearts in the chat if you visited our aquarium before. And if you have, you probably recognize this. This is a beautiful photo spot. Very, very popular. So we are here at the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. And 10,000 of you are here as well joining us, which is amazing. And I want to thank our 10 supporters who have raised $175 for our nonprofit aquarium. Every dollar goes right back to the animals you know and care about, including our jellies. Also, the other 12,000 animals that live here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. All right, so what do we have here, Josh?
So these are our Pacific sea nettles, also called brown or common sea nettles. They're very common on the West Coast, kind of north of Point Conception, so towards Monterey. You'll see big smacks of them. And yeah, these guys are in our 14-gallon cylinder, which we have to break down periodically to clean. It's quite the process. This is definitely the exhibit that takes the most effort from the jelly staff.
Definitely. And we answered it a few minutes ago, but I think this is another good place to talk about what happens when a jelly gets tangled and how does that happen?
So these guys are certainly susceptible to getting tangled because they have those really arm-long tentacles, and that frilly stuff in the middle of the jelly is called oral arms, and those can get tangled as well. The most common way that happens is if I feed them a large piece of usually krill and multiple specimens go after that same piece and grab it, they'll actually can get wrapped up. It happens a couple of times a year, but what I'll do when that happens is I'll pretty much just pull the tangle to the surface and then just for the next, as long as it takes, nice and carefully, just kind of untangle it.
Take it apart.
Yep, exactly.
That's amazing. That just goes to show the amount of care that our aquarist and our husbandry staff does here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. So maybe, Josh, can we talk a little bit about what is a sea jelly? What makes a sea jelly a sea jelly?
Well, what sea jellies are is they are members of the Cnidarian phylum, and that includes things like corals, sea anemones, sea pens, stuff like that. But these guys are they're made out of about 96% water, so they're called gelatinous. They're a plankton. So the big thing with true sea jellies, what makes it a true sea jelly, is having those stinging cells, which are called nematocysts, which it uses to sting things and to capture prey.
Very cool. And so looking at these jellies in here, can you kind of point out where the tentacles are, where the bell of the jelly is?
I mean, so the bell is going to be the brown part on top. It kind of looks like the head. But on the perimeter of that bell are going to be red tentacles. Now, those are going to be what they use to kind of sting and immobilize larger prey. The middle part is the frilly white part, or what's called oral arms. And what it does with that is it kind of works like a conveyor belt. So it'll sting the prey and kill it with the tentacles, move it to the oral arms with that pulsing movement that they do. And once it's at the oral arms, it'll start moving it towards its mouth, which is at the center of the bell and oral arms. So it works like a conveyor belt, just constantly eating plankton and small prey.
Amazing. And here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, you might notice that we refer to them as sea jellies and not jellyfish. Why is that, Josh?
Well, we just want to install the fact that they're not fish. So we call them sea jellies. Same
with sea stars. We don't say starfish, we say sea stars. Here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. So I might call them jellyfish while we're live here. It's totally fine if you still want to refer to them as jellyfish, but we try our best to refer to them as sea jellies.
I call them jellyfish all the time, just so you guys know.
So it's totally fine, and Aquarist does it, so it's totally fine. I want to thank our 37 supporters who have raised $605 for our nonprofit aquarium. You guys are amazing. We love hanging out with you here on TikTok Live and cannot thank you enough. All right, I think we're ready to head behind the scenes.
Sure, sounds great.
Let's do it. All right, so we are going to head above this exhibit to check it out, and then we are going to learn more about baby jellies, which I'm really excited for you all to learn about. And I'm going to climb up a ladder very gracefully, very elegantly here on TikTok Live. All right, officially behind the scenes. And this is where our Pacific sea nettles are. So let's head on up. All right. I would love to see more blue hearts in the chat if you have visited our nonprofit aquarium before here in Long Beach, California. Let us know. All right, so here we are above our Pacific sea nettle habitat. We were down below. That was the window we were at over there. And here's my hand. I'm not going to touch these jellies, but here's my hand next to them so that way you can see how big they are. These guys are very, very large. Don't drop the camera, I promise. Well, I will try my best. It hasn't happened yet as a social media employee here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, but trying my best. Hello, everybody. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Like I said, we're live here at the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. And today is all about jellies. Last week, you might have joined us for otters. The week previous to that, where were we? We were doing something. We were with another animal. We have over 12,000 animals here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, and we are so excited to share them with you here on TikTok Live. And after this live is over, if you'd like to continue the jelly viewing, there's actually a webcam right there. that you can watch this exhibit either as a screensaver, or if you just want to relax at the end of your day, you can totally watch this live stream thanks to our explore.org webcams. And that link is in our bio, or you can head to pacific.2/webcams. So we have jellies here at the Aquarium of the Pacific that you can touch, and we're going to learn more about them in a little bit, because you can actually visit us right now. Our outdoor exhibits are open for just $19 a person, and you can touch our moon jellies. So these are jellies that you cannot touch. I wouldn't want to touch them, but we are going to learn more about those moon jellies in a little bit. All right. Okay, I think we're ready to go see what Josh is up to. And everything I just talked about is at the link in our bio, our webcams, and a link to visit the Aquarium of the Pacific with an advanced reservation. And I'm climbing down the ladder gracefully, elegantly, safely, number one. All right, everybody, so we are back here behind the scenes at the Aquarium of the Pacific. And Aquarist Josh is back. Hello again.
Hi.
And what do you have for us over here?
So what I have here are pretty much a baby jellyfish.
A baby jellyfish.
What this guy is, he is a purple striped sea nettle. Baby jellies. He's about 1 millimeter long. He's approximately 3 days old.
Oh,
and
3 days old jellyfish. You guys are seeing. See, I already said jellyfish. Sea jelly. And this is a purple striped jelly. Let's get some purple hearts in the chat for this brand new baby purple striped jelly. And so we're watching it on a little tablet here. But let's see if I can even pick it up. So this is underneath the microscope in this. I don't even think we'll be able to catch it. Let's see. Oh, I see it in the very middle there. Okay, let me stand still. So you can see it swimming in the very middle of this dish. And when we pull back out, let's see.
Oh, lost it.
Lost it, that's okay. I'll come back right now. There it is. So that is a 3-day-old jellyfish, you guys. That's amazing.
Grow to about tentacles around 6 feet.
Wow.
And have some pretty nasty stings in the belly.
Lots of purple hearts in the chat for this brand new baby jelly. This is awesome. So, Josh, I think a question we get asked all the time is, have you been stung by a jelly?
The answer to that question is absolutely. So it's hard to work with these specimens without actually getting stung. It's just a matter of knowing what specimens are going to sting is going to hurt the worst, and try to avoid touching those guys.
Definitely.
Certainly species to species, individual to individual, certain ones will hurt a lot more than others.
Very cool. And so I'm just going to put my hand here. Here's my hand, and the baby sea jelly is right 3 days old. 3 days old, right?
Yeah.
3. I was like, I might have said 3 weeks, but 3 days. All right, and so what else do we have back here?
So this backstage is actually where I do a lot of my work, where I'm actually culturing the individuals so that'll go out on display. These are our comb jellies. These are what we call our broodstock comb jellies, meaning they're getting ready for reproduction. The cool thing about these comb jellies compared to some of the other jellies is that they are hermaphrodites, meaning they can self-fertilize. I really only need one of them to actually bring more larvae. And what I'll do is I'll kind of beef these guys up with a special diet of fish larvae, fish eggs, those mysid shrimp, plankton. And when they're ready to reproduce, I'll put them in what's called a diffusion tube. And then they'll actually release sperm and eggs, one individual, which will become fertilized and turn into little larval ctenophores.
Wow.
or comb jellies.
Amazing.
We are one of the few aquariums in America to actually reproduce these guys. So it's really cool for us.
That is fantastic. And what's the lifespan of a jelly? I know that they definitely differ species to species.
Yeah.
But maybe we can talk about that here with what's happening right here.
So these are our moon jellies. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, let's get, oh, that's much better. Very cool.
So this tank has approximately 4,000 in there.
Oh, just 4,000 moon jellies, everybody.
Yeah, no big thing.
No big deal.
And moon jellies, they can last a pretty good long time. These guys can live for about 1.5 years, max kind of length. Some of the other big ones can live for about 2 years, but most of the jellies, like the umbrella jellies, some of the other ones, they actually have a really short life cycle. And that's the reason why we have to reproduce so many of them to keep them stocked. So they can kind of range between 3 months to 8 months.
Very cool. And a lot of people, when we post about jellies, they assume that jellies live forever. But that is just a type of species that can kind of live indefinitely.
Yeah, so what that is not all jellies can do that, but there's one species or one genus of jellies that can, and he's called the Immortal Jelly. And the reason he could possibly do that is he can go back and forth between a jelly's sessile, meaning the stage where they live at the ocean floor, and its free swimming stage. So like these moon jellies, they go from that sessile stage to the free swimming stage, and then they kind of grow, and that's where they'll senesce and die. But those guys can jump back and forth between those stages.
Oh, wow.
So in theory, if it does not get preyed upon, it could live indefinitely.
Very cool. The Immortal Jelly. So metal. I love it. All right, and so this is the next stage in their lifespan, or maybe these are just slightly bigger moon jellies right here, right?
These guys are the older moon jellies.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty much getting these guys ready to go out to our touch tank exhibit. Mm-hmm. We have quite a few moon jellies in that tank, so we try to keep as many as possible as we can safely in there. And we're pretty much always reproducing these guys.
Very cool. All right, and so these are moon jellies here at the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. And these are the same jellies that you can actually touch in our outdoor Moon Jelly Touch Lab. And we'll be talking about moon jellies in a little bit. We're gonna head downstairs with Aquarist Valerie in a few minutes. But let's see if there are any questions. Ooh, this is a great question. Can jellies sting each other?
It depends. So same species generally don't sting each other. For whatever reason, they are pretty much immune to their own stings. Mm-hmm. Other species absolutely can sting each other.
Wow.
I have to be very, very careful when I'm working with all these different types of jellies that I don't introduce those stinging cells on tools, my hands, anything that might go in from one tank to another, because that could actually be very detrimental to the health.
Yeah, that's something I would never think about. Wow.
Of the jellies.
Of whatever jellies you're working with next. That's amazing.
Exactly.
All right, Josh, and I think I have one more question for you. I'm going to put your face on camera for this.
Okay.
So we have a lot of questions about how did you get this job working with jellies? If you could offer any advice for someone who wants to work with jellies or become an aquarist, what would you say to them?
The best thing you can do is study marine biology in college. Get at least a bachelor's degree. It doesn't have to be marine biology, but just a bachelor's degree in some sort of science field, and then start volunteering, start working for free at your local aquarium or fish shop, because you can actually learn a lot. And when you start volunteering, you kind of get your foot in the door, and you can kind of see those opportunities, job opportunities, that is, when they arise.
Definitely.
So the best thing to do is go to college, get your science degree, and start volunteering at your local aquarium.
Very cool. Yeah, a lot of our husbandry staff recommends volunteering at your local institutions. For the hands-on experience, it looks great on your resume. So very cool. All right, Josh, thank you so much. We're going to head and meet up with Valerie and exit Jellyland. I don't know if I said that back here. This is technically what we call Jellyland because it is home to many different types of jellies behind the scenes. Looks like, are these purple stripes? Yeah, these are purple stripes in here. And we're going to learn, oh, there I am. Hello, everybody. We're going to learn more about these in a little bit. All right, let's head back into our Northern Pacific Gallery where we are going to meet up with Aquarist Valerie. Thank you. And, hi, Valerie.
Hi.
That was perfect timing. So Valerie, we just learned all about the jellies up here in our Northern Pacific Gallery here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. Where are we going to head to now?
So we're on the second floor right now of the aquarium. We're going to go downstairs to the Southern California Gallery and we'll see some more jellies.
Very cool.
I have some food for them.
Ooh!
This is brine shrimp, and brine shrimp is a type of plankton that we feed to our jellies. We actually grow it here so that we always have some on hand, and then we don't have to go harvest some from the ocean or anything. So we have a person who's in charge of growing brine shrimp and other plankton for us to feed to animals, and that's what I have here. I mixed a little bit of frozen plankton in there too, some milk pods.
Ooh, it's gonna be a delicious dinner for our jellies.
It's a cool mixture because I like to give him a little extra nutritional boost. It's like when you add spirulina to your smoothie.
Oh,
It's
a little
kind of the
boost,
same thing.
a little health boost. Very cool.
health
Let's get a
boost.
shot of this while we're up here.
Yeah, delicious.
Yum. Well, it's not yum for us because people like to joke about drinking that here at the Aquarium of the Pacific on one of our video posts. So you definitely don't want to drink it. It would not taste good.
They always do. It doesn't even smell good.
No, it doesn't smell good.
For animals, it's a great food
Oh
source
yeah.
for
Oh
us.
yeah. And you can actually feed them here at the aquarium. So we're going to learn more about that downstairs. Let's head down there now. We're going to say bye to our Northern Pacific jellies. Bye bye. And like I said, you can watch this exhibit, this very one right here, on a webcam that's inside on our website, and that link is in bio. So you can head there after our live stream.
Yeah, super cool. We have a bunch of webcams. Luckily, we're going to walk past a bunch of other exhibits. So this is the Surge Channel. We're going to come out here. There's our whale. That's
There is
not a
our
real
whale.
But, you know, you can see how big a whale really is.
There is our blue whale model here in the Great Hall at the Aquarium of the Pacific.
Yeah,
And we are
there's
heading
Cavern
downstairs.
over there.
Here's our Honda Blue Cavern exhibit.
Awesome.
And we are walking down.
Nobody can see these right now, but
Yeah, we're currently closed to the public indoors, but you can visit our outdoor exhibits. And I want to thank the 66 people who have raised $925. You guys are incredible. That means so much to our nonprofit aquarium. As you can see, it's empty in here besides staff and our amazing animals. We are so excited for the opportunity to reopen. We'll definitely keep you all posted when we can reopen indoors. All right, so I know before we head any further, I know I'm going to lose service periodically as we wander in.
Oh, yeah.
So stay tuned with us. I promise it'll quickly turn back on. So stay tuned. All right, let's head in. We'll get through it together.
These are all animals that are in Southern California or nearby. So we have some that are fish exhibits, some that are invertebrate exhibits, and then at the end of the hall we have the jelly exhibits.
We have our jellies, and we're almost there.
And I'm bringing this food for them so you can see how they eat.
Guys, it's time to eat. All right.
These ones.
So these are our moon jellies here in our SoCal Baja gallery. And these are the same jellies you can touch outdoors. You can do that right now at our Moon Jelly Touch exhibit if you make a reservation at the link in our bio. Let me move this further down here. I think that looks better. All right. So Valerie, can you tell us a little more about moon jellies? We saw some babies upstairs.
Yeah, moon jellies are a very plentiful species of jelly in the ocean. So if you've ever seen any documentaries like maybe, I don't know, Blue Planet or something like that, you can see that there will be thousands of them in the ocean together. So we try to represent that in our exhibits by having a lot of moon jellies in there too. And they're really good for us to grow because we can grow them in large numbers and display them together in large numbers without them getting tangled or anything. So in here, in this exhibit, I just try to get them to grow as big as possible, which is a pretty fun game for me, which means I just feed them as much as I can, and I give them different types of plankton so that they get a lot of nutrition and they can grow really large. And some of the biggest ones have been in here for over a year, and they're bigger than my head.
Yeah, they're huge. I'll put my hand up to this one. This one's massive. And we just saw the babies downstairs. You can see that they have a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah, they grow kind of slow compared to maybe warmer water jellies, but the results are good when you get there. They can live a long time, and they can get quite large, and they can be. I think moon jellies are one of the most beautiful jelly.
Oh, they're so beautiful. It's so relaxing to watch them.
Yeah, I even still like to watch them. I don't really get tired of it ever because it's so peaceful.
So relaxing. Very cool. And we have another type of jellies. We're going to get back to our moon jellies in a minute. I know we said we were going to feed them, but we have another type of jelly. And so upstairs we met a jelly who was 3 days old. And about how long until it becomes this size? 'Cause it's the same type of jelly.
Probably a couple of months. I would say anywhere between 4 and 6 months.
Wow.
I don't always keep perfect track of it, but yeah, it's a couple months, and you have to be a little patient because they are very small at first. They get larger and larger, and when they're big enough, I can put them in this exhibit, which is taller than I am.
Yeah, this is a beautiful exhibit. This is another spot. Let's get some blue hearts in the chat if you've visited our aquarium before and you recognize this spot in our SoCal Baja gallery. I'll give you a hint. Our sea lions and seals are right around the corner right there. But we're focusing on jellies today because jellies are awesome and they're very cool. And like I said, we just met a 3-day-old purple striped jelly upstairs. So in just a few months, it'll be
amazing.
It'll be this big and hopefully in this exhibit as well.
We also have a different one in here. This one's called the black sea nettle, and these are also found off the coast of California. Both of these species can be found here in California, although they're not very common. I know it's kind of scary when people think of seeing these in the water. They kind of freak out a little bit because they do sting. They have a painful sting, but they're not very dangerous. They'll just burn your skin a bit. I can tell you that because I've touched them quite a few times.
I know, that's a lot of question that we'll get is if you've been stung before, and I know Josh has.
And they prey on other jellies and even shrimp, sometimes maybe larval fish, so they need to have kind of a potent venom for that sort of prey. However, if you see one near the beach, that is a very rare occurrence, so maybe try to get a picture and upload it to one of those websites where, like iNaturalist or something, where you can track the sightings of animals, because nerds like me really like to see it when people have found them in the wild, because that's not very common. I have never seen one of these in the wild, and I've been diving in California for I don't know, almost 10 years now.
Wow.
And I would like to see one. I would be super excited if I did, but their blooms are relatively infrequent in the wild, so we have to grow them all here because we can't just march out to the beach and get one. That would be very unusual. And the other species we have in here, the black sea nettle, they're even less common here. I think the last major bloom of them was maybe in the 2000s or even 1999. Near San Diego, they can be kind of common, but I have a feeling they live in deeper water and they don't always come up near the surface.
Amazing.
So they're kind of mysterious to us.
Jellies are kind of mysterious in general.
are.
I'm learning so much today along with our TikTok followers.
Yeah.
And I want to thank our 76 donors. We raised $1,000 for our nonprofit aquarium. And that money goes right back to the animals you're meeting today and have met before on TikTok Live. All 12,000 animals here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. So we thank you so much for supporting our nonprofit aquarium here in Long Beach, California. And I'll say it again, you can visit our outdoor exhibits right now. That's a great way to support us. It's just $19 a person. And while you won't see these jellies, you will see our moon jellies outside, which we have a couple in here. We met them a few minutes ago, and I think we're ready to head behind the scenes and feed them.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it.
So the reason that one reason I'm demonstrating, besides the fact that it's just cool, is that when you come visit here, if it's a Saturday or Sunday, guests can purchase brine shrimp. It's served so wonderfully, and I give it to the people who sell it in a little cooler that we would use for drinks or beverages, and then they put it in small cups. They give them to guests, and then guests can actually pour them into the moon jelly exhibit, and they can see what happens.
So you can do what we're about to do if you visit on a weekend, on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Yeah, we're going to pour the whole thing in.
All right.
Can pour a little bit at a time, but I mean, there's no limit to how many times you can come back. So we're going to climb this ladder into the exhibit surface.
And climbing up the ladder gracefully, safely, elegantly once again.
This is what we have to do to get to the top of our exhibit sometimes, because a lot of them are really high up, higher up than a person can reach. So I just have this, it's full of plankton. They're almost microscopic to the eye, but it looks orange because they're just orange when you see them in large numbers. So when I pour this in, the water will become full of little plankton.
Wow.
It's like if you were on land and the air was full of bugs. So you wouldn't really want to be in the water when this happened. It's kind of gross. But when you're not in the water, it's cool to watch, because after a few minutes, the jellies collect them on their tentacles, which means they're stinging them pretty much, and then they start bringing them towards their stomachs.
Very cool.
And the stomachs are these little reddish circles on the center of the jelly. That's where they have brought in food. This is the third time I fed them today, so they're having quite a bit of a meal today.
Do you mind if I touch these jellies?
Yeah, you can touch them.
All right.
So we just gently touch them on the tops of their bells like that. That's what we do with the exhibits and everything. So it's super safe for us, and it's safe for the jellies that way. They feel smooth. They feel kind of squishy.
They do feel squishy. They kind of feel like a wet gummy bear is what I describe them as pretty often.
Yeah.
So you aren't able to touch these exact jellies because this is inside right now. But these same jellies, the same jelly species, moon jellies, are outdoor at our Moon Jelly Touch Lab. And so this is the only jelly we touch here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. And we definitely only want you touching jellies at the Aquarium of the Pacific under a watchful eye.
Don't touch them in the ocean. They could be a different species.
Yeah, you definitely don't know. So you want to be sure. So definitely come down to the aquarium. You can touch and feed them if you visit on a weekend day. All right, we'll wait for one to get a little bit closer to the top, but I have a couple questions for you, Valerie.
Okay.
Is it possible to overfeed a jelly?
Yeah, you can. You can dump just way too much food in the exhibit, and then the jellies will actually, they might even eat too much, and they might get all heavy. And if you see them hanging out near the bottom of the exhibit, you might realize that you made a mistake. It's a lot easier to overfeed them when they're like the 3-day-old ones, the really tiny ones. These ones can eat almost everything I give them because there are just so many of them, and they have a lot of tentacles, a lot of really small tentacles for catching prey. So these ones, I would find it pretty hard to overfeed them. If anything, I'm trying to feed them as much as I can. But the little ones, we have to be really careful, and sometimes we have little droppers and tools for making sure that we only feed a little bit to them. Because it can be a delicate process. Big. Yeah, that guy's a monster.
So big, so cool. So can you tell us why we can touch moon jellies here at the aquarium? What is special about moon jellies?
Moon jellies aren't very venomous compared to other jellies. Their prey is usually really small things like brine shrimp and smaller plankton than that. Other jellies usually have stronger venom if they need to paralyze other larger prey items, like other jellyfish or, I don't know, shrimp or fish larvae. But moon jellies, they don't eat anything like that. Their tentacles are smaller, and they don't really pack as much of a punch. So when we touch them, we don't feel the pain.
Yeah, our skin is very strong, but if we were a tiny brine shrimp, it wouldn't feel very good.
To the brine shrimp, they probably just feel really, really sticky, and they get stuck to them. Every jelly species has a different type of venom and a different type of stinging cells in their tentacles. And so moon jellies just have a not very potent kind. The sea nettles that we saw over there have a much more painful venom and more pointed stinging cells that can pierce into the skin of their prey, which is scary, but luckily our skin is tough, and so not much happens, even if it's a really painful thing.
We got strong skin. It's okay with the moon jellies. And once again, we want to say that you only want to touch moon jellies here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, or at an aquarium with a moon jelly touch exhibit.
Yeah,
all right.
Touch them in the ocean.
No, definitely not. All right, let's head in front so we can get another better view, and we'll wrap up and talk a little bit more about jellies down below.
Yeah, we're going to see all the plankton in the water probably, and we'll see what happens when they're eating.
That'll be cool. All right, back down the ladder.
Yeah, back down the ladder.
Once again, elegant, safe.
I even have a little contraption that auto feeds them throughout the day.
Oh, wow.
If I'm not here to feed them, it'll keep feeding a little bit at a time so they can constantly eat.
Very cool.
And that's just one of the tricks that we use to get jellies to grow as large as possible.
As big as they are. All right, let's head.
The goal.
That is the goal. All right, let's head in front again.
All right.
And if you're just joining us, we are here live at the Aquarium of the Pacific with Aquarist Valerie. My name is Madeline. I'm on the social media team here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. And we are going to park. Wow, it looks so different now. it's almost cloudy looking.
Yeah.
Let's set up shop right here.
They're going to have quite a feast right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's good, though.
All right. So you can see those orange bits swimming about, and also the orange bit inside of the mostly translucent moon jellies.
Yay!
So that means that they're eaten, right, Valerie?
Oh yeah, they're definitely eating. So this is their third meal of the day. Right now, they're starting to collect the food on their tentacles. Their little stinging tentacles are around the edge of the bell, and they're starting to turn orange with clumps of plankton. So when they catch it, they collect it into little clumps, and then you can see the orange dots of it. And then when they have caught that on their stinging tentacles, they bring it to those like lacy looking ones in the center. And then those are connected to the stomach, so they send the food straight into the stomachs.
That's
so the
amazing.
jelly doesn't even have a brain. It can't see what it's eating, but its body just does it automatically.
It just knows. That's amazing. I was going to ask you next, kind of, what's the anatomy of a moon jelly? Does it have eyes? Does it have a heart? Does it have a brain?
It doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have a brain. Mostly it has mechanisms for feeding. However, around the edge, there are some very small light sensing organs, and they also sense gravity too.
Wow.
So I don't know exactly what it feels like when an animal senses gravity. I mean, we kind of have a gravity sensor in our ear so that we know, even if our eyes are closed, we know if we're sideways or upside down or whatnot. So I feel like it's probably kind of similar for jellies. They usually have 8 of them around the outside of the bell. You can just barely see them with your eye. If you had a microscope, you could see them a little better. They don't form images like our eyes do. They only can sense lightness and darkness. And oftentimes, moon jellies are attracted to light because plankton is also attracted to light. And they eat plankton, so their instincts have evolved over time to be attracted to the sunlight as well. Or the artificial sunlight, if we provide them with that. So it's pretty cool, their sensory abilities, even though they don't have a brain, they barely have a nervous system. It's a very simple nervous system. It isn't like ours with lots of complex senses and processes going on all the time. But they're still able to catch prey. Anytime the food passes by their tentacles, the tentacles just automatically sting it. So we have the stinging tentacles on the outside, the oral tentacles or feeding tentacles in the center, and then we have those 4 horseshoe-shaped organs, which are both the stomachs where food is digested and the reproductive organs of the jelly. So that's pretty much their anatomy. And then around the outside of the bell and everything and all throughout it, if you look very closely, you can see these faintly, usually pinkish colored, vein-looking structures.
Yeah.
And those are actually an extension of the digestive system.
Oh, wow.
So when the food is broken down, it goes throughout there. And it's kind of like the nutrients and the pigments that were in the food. When they're broken down, they go throughout that, and they are distributed to the rest of the jelly's body. And they often take on the color of the food that the jelly has been eating. Since we feed a lot of brine shrimp, and I feed a lot of frozen copepods too, which are the same color, they often take on the pinkish reddish color, which is, I think it's a nice color for them.
Oh, I think they're beautiful.
To adopt.
Definitely.
Yeah, wild ones will sometimes have different colors. They might look a little more purple, or when they're older, they become more purple because they've just accumulated so much pigments. But it's cool to watch the color change, and that color change, you can not only see the results of them eating within a few minutes, but you can also see the more long-term results of the food that you've been feeding them.
Yeah, a question we were getting is, are they translucent, or do they have that purplish kind of color that we're seeing? That is also part of the lighting in this exhibit too, right? It's a little kind of purple-y hued, slightly.
I tried to make it a lot like daylight, so they're mostly translucent. They have a slight purplish tint to them. So when they turn towards certain angles, you can see that. Some people want to know if they glow on their own. I hear that question a lot at the touch tank, but I think that's mostly just the way they look when sunlight hits them, or when light rays hit their strange textured wet gummy bear-like skin. That's what happens. It bounces off in a really interesting way, not in the same way that light really bounces off our skin, because they're made of totally different compounds from us.
Yeah, they're very different than us.
Yeah.
Very cool. Another question we get a lot is, do we have any box jellyfish here at the Aquarium of the Pacific? I feel like that might be the most famous type of jelly.
Yeah, that's the most famous because it's one of the most dangerous. We
Yeah.
don't have any. I have one time. We did have a culture of them for a short time. However, they eat live fish larvae, and at the time I didn't have any fish larvae to feed to them. So they wouldn't grow very large for us. They would only be like a millimeter long. But we have had them. We don't have them right now. They're not very common. There are some species that live in California, and they're not as dangerous as the ones in Australia. So there is always the possibility of receiving them someday. But we would have to probably be diving and collect them in the wild. And we would have to have a supply of fish larvae to feed to them, because that's their main prey item. If we just fed them brine shrimp, they wouldn't do very well. So we have to make sure we match their correct diet.
What is the probably maximum size of a moon jelly, like the ones we're looking at here?
The maximum size might be a little bigger than the biggest ones that we have in here. So maybe around 20 inches in diameter.
All right.
That
Pretty
would be
big.
huge.
Yeah, they would be huge.
I have seen some in the wild that are that big, mostly from the Monterey area or like the Central California area. They don't get quite as large around here because we don't have quite as abundant of plankton in these waters, but we still have some pretty big ones occasionally that show up here in Southern California too.
Very cool. All right, everybody, we are going to wrap it up here with Aquarist Valerie at the Aquarium of the Pacific. I want to thank everyone so much for tuning in. I learned so much along with you all. I know we learned a lot today. I'm really, really excited. And I want to thank our 89 donors who have raised $1.1 thousand for our nonprofit aquarium. You guys are absolutely incredible. You show up for us every week here on TikTok, and we are so thankful for the support. Like I said, we are closed indoors but open outdoors. So you can visit our nonprofit aquarium, our outdoor exhibits, which includes our moon jellies. And if you visit on a weekend, you can feed them even. Very, very cool. All of the information I talked about today is at the link in our bio. And we will be back next week with our sharks in Shark Lagoon on TikTok Live. I know I saw a lot of requests for sharks here with our moon jellies. And even though our jellies are really, really cool, I know you want to show the sharks love too. So we will definitely be back next week. And let's head over to our the purple striped jellies. And we will end over here and we'll say goodbye to these guys.
They're eating too. They're eating quite a few things.
Oh yeah, they are eating. You can see those little dots in the water. Very cool. All right, everybody, we will be back next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll be sure to post about it. So make sure you follow us here on TikTok. And we'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.